Chapter 30. I woke up this morning, on my 16th birthday, with high expectations. Either way, I convinced myself I would have my greatest birthday yet. I got dressed and went to the kitchen for breakfast. I sat down with my family and was served the same oatmeal I had eaten for breakfast every other morning I could remember. I went about my day as if it was any other day. If there were any unexpected birthday surprises, I would be pleasantly surprised. I went about my morning chores as usual before I rode my bicycle to school. I doubted anyone there would mention my birthday, but Henri surprised me as soon as he saw me walking up to the school entrance.
Hey, Corban, how's your birthday going? Do you have any special plans, or is it a surprise?
He seemed genuinely interested, not arrogant or boastful like so often before. I had thought up responses on my way to school, just in case someone happened to ask.
It's going great, Henri. Mom surprised me with pancakes for breakfast today, and Dad said they've got surprises for later today.
Speaking of your dad, have you decided what you'll do after today? Will you continue school, or focus more on your apprenticeship? How do you feel about being the next cleric?
I hadn't expected his question because I hadn't ever discussed my apprenticeship in depth with anyone besides Colette. I pretended to consider the question carefully.
Yeah, I can't picture myself growing up to be anything else. Dad says I have a natural aptitude, and Mom says she couldn't be prouder of the both of us.
Though Henri had the tendency to be a fickle friend over the past years, I ached to share how I really felt, what I really thought every time I looked out across the endless sea. I was also frightened of the possibility of those words somehow finding their way to my parents. Those feelings must have registered somewhere in my facial expressions or posture. Henri seemed about to reply, then thought better of it. Still, the incredulous frown he briefly wore was etched in my mind as he beamed an encouraging smile.
Well, I hope you continue to have a fantastic birthday. See you around, Corban.
He waved farewell on his way to talk to his other friends. I waved in response and then walked away, even though we would end up in the same class when the bells struck 8. Despite my thoughts and feelings fixating on the topic of my birthday, or maybe because of this, school seemed much shorter than the usual 4 hours. Though it was the third day of a new term, I still wasn't as enthusiastic about my classes as I had been, despite my firm insistence that I stay in school. I quietly rode home, as usual. As usual, I was greeted by Mother and Hannah. Lunch was a sandwich, an apple, and a glass of milk, as usual. 15 minutes later, I was next door in Father's office inside the chapel. We went through the normal routine, conversation about our morning, prayer, Bible study, meditation, preparation for that Sunday's service, all interspersed with interruptions from Father's parishioners. Most asked for prayer, confessions, or spiritual guidance. 2 were lonely old widows who, I suspected, just wanted some conversation to help them feel less lonely. The last was a thin, frail man carrying a small lump of rags. He asked for money. Father denied, and that was that. Afterwards we closed up his office and went outside to walk our normal route around the community, praying for lost souls, as Father would say. This was normally done in the evenings during summer to avoid the worst of the heat. Normally I wouldn't question his actions, but today felt different. I felt maybe I was owed an explanation.
Father, why didn't you give the man money?
He stopped walking, so I did as well. He gave a long sigh and looked up to the sky, as if this was a lesson he had given many times before. Maybe he had, and I just hadn't been listening. Finally he looked over at me and answered, "Son, what would happen if we gave money to everyone, every time they asked for it?"
I guess they would either be thankful and use it wisely, or they wouldn't and would waste it.
For every thankful person who uses it wisely, there are 99 others who would take it, waste it, and come back for more, again and again. Did you smell the smoke on his clothes, the alcohol on his breath? Do you think another handout would help him learn his lesson, Corban?
Still, it doesn't seem fair. It's not all his fault he's addicted to those things, is it? Isn't there something else we could do to help him? What would you do if I had those problems?
He stared at me for a long time. I thought I had left him speechless. Those are good questions, and good questions are always a good start. If you come up with some good answers, let me know. Quietly, he resumed his prayer walk. I followed behind him, thoroughly unimpressed with his response. Supper was typical and uneventful. Rice and beans, with a small serving of apple juice. After clearing the table and washing the dishes, I lingered in the kitchen, even though I knew it was quickly nearing bedtime. To pass the time, and give Mother and Father one last chance at giving me a possible surprise, I read a storybook to Hannah. I say storybook, but Mother and Father had forbidden storybooks like those my friends had. I knew about fairy tales and the like from school, but the only storybook our family had was an old illustrated children's Bible. My parents decided those were the only stories worth knowing and reading. I decided to read her the story of Peter and John healing the lame man, who had really only been looking for money. After putting Hannah to bed, I got ready for bed myself. It wasn't until I was in bed that I realized I hadn't had any thoughts about the grey lobster since the day before. I was so certain this birthday would be special that I hadn't further considered sneaking out. Once I was lying down in bed, I was unsure of whether I wanted to get back up again. I heard Mother and Father readying themselves for bed, and I remembered Blackbeard's words from the day before.
Now there's a singer, if I've ever heard one.
Those words decided it. As soon as the light from my parents' room went out, I got up and got dressed.